Hello and welcome to part 2 of our Calli the Cow crochet along. In this part, we are going to be completing the legs, the body, the udders, and the arms. If you haven't completed part 1, head over there first before completing this video. All right, so now we are going to move on to the legs. And I'm going to start off with my brown color. So whatever you're using for the horns and the ears and the spots is what you're going to use here. So if you're using black, use black, whatever it is that you want. And we're going to start off with a magic ring. And inside our magic ring, we're going to place 8 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to pull halfway here. I always like to pull halfway. There we go. And then I'm going to continue 5, 6, 7, and 8. There we go. And I'm going to place my stitch marker. Now moving on to round 2, we're going to do an increased round. So 2 single crochets in each stitch around, and you should have a stitch count of 16. 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, now moving on to round 3, we're going to do the combination single crochet, 1, and an increase. And we're going to repeat this 8 times for a stitch count of 24. All right, now for round 5, we're going to do the combination single crochet 1 and a decrease stitch, so our invisible decrease. Sorry, I can't get under this loop there. We're going to repeat that 4 times. Single crochet, decrease. That's 2. Single crochet, decrease, and the last one, single crochet and a decrease. All right, so now we're at this point, we're going to finish off this round with single crochet 12. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right, now for round 5, we're going to do the combination single crochet 1 and a decrease again, but this time we're only going to repeat it 2 times instead of 4. So decrease, single crochet. Again, I'm sorry for the squeaking. This yarn is so sticky. I don't know why. And then we're going to finish off with single crochet 14. So one single crochet in each stitch around till the end. All right, now for round 6, we're just going to do single crochet 18. So one single crochet in each stitch around. All right, so we are at the very end of round 6. And at this point, we're going to change colors. So for this last stitch here, I've just left my single crochet unfinished. I yarned over and pulled through and I left it. And I'm going to cut this brown yarn here. And I'm going to grab my beige yarn that we're using for the body. And all I'm going to do here is just grab that with my hook, pull that through to finish that single crochet and change the color at the same time. And on the back here, I'm just going to knot those 2 yarn tails together just to secure them. Stick them inside. And now we have our new color on. So for rounds 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, so 6 rounds, we're going to do single crochet 18. So just one single crochet in each stitch around for the next 6 rounds. I will complete these rounds off camera and I'll meet you back here at the end of round 12. All right, so I'm up to round 12 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I'm just going to finish our last round, round 13, which is going to be single crochet 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and an increase. We're going to repeat that one more time, and your stitch count should be 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and increase. So we are going to make 2 of these. The first one you make, you're going to just slip stitch into this next stitch here, yarn over, pull through to tie this off. You're going to make a second one, but you're going to leave it attached to the ball of yarn because this is what we're going to use to start our body. So tie this one off, go back, make another one, but do not tie it off, leave it attached to your yarn, and we will meet back here for the next step. All right, so I have made both of my feet, my legs. One is not attached. This is the first one I made, and this is the second one I made that is still attached. So what we're going to do is we're going to start working up the body now. So my stitch marker came out, so I'm just going to replace that. Now in the leg that is still attached to our yarn, we are going to start off with 10 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, just like that. Next, we're going to grab our other leg here, and into this stitch here where we put our, this stitch right next to where we put our slip stitch, we are going to insert our hook, yarn over, and we're going to place a single crochet there. So that just attached the 2 legs. So there's 1 single crochet. Now there's 20 single crochets in this, so we're going to finish all 20. So we already have 1, so we have 19 to go. 2, 3, next we're going to go and look here to see our last stitch was into this stitch right here. So we're going to go back into the other leg, into the next stitch over, and we're going to complete a single crochet. Now we've done 10 already on this leg, plus 1, which is 11, and we should have 20, so we should have 9 left. So now our stitch count all the way around should be 40. And you should notice that your toes here, this is kind of where we did our decreasing in the front but not in the back, they should be facing towards you. So that is the front of the feet there. Just like that. This is what our underside is looking like. So now for round 2 of the body, so that was round 1. Round 2 of the body, we're going to just do single crochet 40. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around. I will complete this off camera and I'll meet you back here for the next step. All right, so that is round 2 of the body completed. Now for round 3, we're going to do the combination single crochet 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and an increase. And we're going to repeat this 8 times for a stitch count of 48. 2, 3, 4, and increase. I'm going to complete this round off camera and I'll meet you back here for round 4. All right, so at this point we have just finished up to round 3 and we have 48 stitches. We are going to quickly stuff our legs before we move on here. So I'm just going to grab my fiber fill and I'm going to start stuffing down into the toe. You don't have to stuff all the way to the top. We're just really trying to get into the toe area here before our project gets too big that we can't get there. Now this yarn tail, it's to sew up this little hole here that we have. So I would keep that out. You probably don't need it very long. Mine is really long because I always like to have too much yarn versus not enough, but I will probably trim it a little bit. So I'm just gonna lightly stuff. You don't want it to be, rock hard, but also if you want this guy to stand up a little bit on his own, you'll probably need some sort of, maybe thicker legs, more stuffing. But we'll just get a rough stuffing started. So there we go. There's our toes. So once we are happy with that, we're going to move on. So moving on for rounds 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, 8 rows total. We are going to do single crochet 48. So just 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 8 rounds, which should bring you up to the end of round 11. So just 1 stitch around. So I'm going to complete these rounds off camera and I will meet you back here for round 12. All right, so this is what we're looking like up to round 11 of the body. And now we're going to move on. And from this point here, we're going to start decreasing down. So I pulled my stitch marker up by accident. So, okay, so for round 12, we're going to do the combination single crochet 4, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease. And again, we're going to do our invisible decreasing. And we're going to repeat this combination 8 times, single crochet 4, and a decrease, and your stitch count should be 40 at the end of round 12. All right, for round 13 and 14, so 2 rounds, we're going to do single crochet 40. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 2 rounds. I will complete these rounds off camera and I'll meet you back here for round 15. All right, now moving on to round 15, we're going to do the combination single crochet 3, 2, 3, and a decrease. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease. And we're going to repeat this again a total of 8 times. And your stitch count should be 32 at the end of round 15. All right, and then for rounds 16 and 17, so 2 rounds, we are going to do single crochet 32. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around for rounds 16 and 17. I will complete these rounds off camera and then I'll meet you back here for the next step. All right, so once we have hit round 17, we're just going to stuff our body here before it gets too small to stuff. So all I'm going to do is just same as what I've done with all my other stuffing. I'm just going to start putting stuff in. And I want to make sure that I'm filling the top of those leg holes first, just so there's no bending at the right here. The hips, I guess you could call them. And same thing, I'm just going to be sweeping my stuffing out to make sure that all of the areas are evenly stuffed. We can add more stuffing, of course. So there's kind of where I'm at right now, which I think I'll just leave for now, and I'm going to add some more a little bit later. So moving on here, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to crochet into now that you've stuffed, so just take your time and try not to grab stuffing when you're crocheting. So moving on to round 18, we're going to be doing the combination single crochet 2, 1, 2, and a decrease. 1, 2, and a decrease. And again, we're going to repeat this 8 times. Oopsies. And your stitch count should be 24. All right, moving on to round 19, we're going to do single crochet 24. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around. All right, and now for our last round of the body here, we're going to do round 20, which is going to be the combination single crochet 1 and a decrease. Single crochet 1 and a decrease. Again, we're repeating this 8 times and our stitch count should be 16 at the end of round 20. So I will complete this round off camera here and I will meet you back here when you're all done round 20. All right, so that is the last round. So I'm just going to take my stitch marker out. I'm going to take my yarn here and I'm just going to place this slip stitch into the next stitch and pull that through. I need a decent size strand for sewing. And then the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to stuff just the top here of the body that I haven't stuffed yet. There we go. There we go. That's what we're looking like. We're going to leave this piece open, and this is what we're going to use to sew onto our head. So let's grab our head, and if you are using it, oopsie, sorry, also just grab your knitting needle, and this is going to help us keep the head in place when we're sewing. So what I like to do here is I'm just going to place my head. Just want to make sure that it's centered on my body here. And all I'm going to do is stick my knitting needle down into the body here. You can see it coming out here. And now my head is pretty much attached here. And it's not really moving. Obviously it moves this way right now, but it's not going to be moving position too much. And I want to just make sure that it's in the exact right position that I want it to be in. And I just like this because fabric pins obviously are too small to keep this big head on the body. And sometimes you can get really crooked with your sewing on of large objects like this. So I find the knitting needle really helps keep everything in line and in place, so when I'm sewing I know everything is straight. Alright, so all I've done here is I've just put my darning needle on my yarn tail. I'm going to go to the area where my yarn tail ended, which is right here. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to start sewing this on. I'm just going to take my time. I'm going to try and go get every stitch in the body here. And I think the most important part about this is just making sure as we go along here that we're still exactly where we want to be position wise. So as we sew, just make sure we're still straight, we're still happy with where we're at. And I'm just going to sew this on. Here we go. Now we are all sewn on and it's pretty much perfect. I'm going to just take my knitting needle out, and this is exactly where I wanted it to be. It honestly works every single time. So now that that's all sewn on, I'm just gonna make a little knot here at the back just for some extra security. Go. And I'm just going to push that down a little bit. And when I attach the arms, I will tie this piece off. I'm just going to cut this. This is what happens when you sew with this yarn. It's not very forgiving. So that's why this technique is so nice, because you really need to sew it on correctly the first time, or else you'll be a little bit in trouble. So there is the head now attached to our body. All right, next we're going to work on our udders. So I'm going to use the same pink yarn that I used for the snout. And I'm going to start off with a magic ring. And inside my magic ring, I'm going to place 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just going to pull this. 5, 6, 7, and 8. There we go. For round 2, we're going to do an increase round. So increase stitch, and each stitch around you have 8, so you should have 16 at the end of round 2. There's 4, 5, 6. All right, now for round 3, we're going to do the combination single crochet 3, 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to do a bobble stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into this next stitch, yarn over and pull through so you have 3 loops on your hook. Next we're going to yarn over and pull through 2, and this is looking like a double crochet, but at this point we're going to repeat what we just did. We're going to leave these 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, insert right back into that exact same stitch that we are in already, yarn over and pull through. You have 4 on your hook now, yarn over, pull through 2, so you have 3, and we're going to repeat again. Yarn over, insert into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, so you have 4 on your hook. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, so we have 5. Last time, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and at this point we should have 6 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through all 6, just like this. Now we're going to continue on, so make sure this stitch right next to the bobble, it's going to be a little bit hidden, so pull your bobble over so you don't miss this stitch. And we're going to repeat that process of single crochet 3 and a bobble stitch. So I'm going to go back in here. Now this, I'm just going to pull this yarn a little bit because this is what's going to make your bobble stick out. So there's 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 3, and we're going to do another bobble stitch. We're going to repeat this 4 times. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And we'll repeat that till we have 6 loops on our hook. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yarn over, pull through all 6. Find that next hidden stitch there and place a single crochet. And you just want to make sure your bobbles are pointing and pushed inwards because they're on the other side, they're kind of concave. So there's 1 single crochet, there's 2 and 3, and again a bobble stitch. All right, so now for the last round here, we haven't quite finished off our bobble here. We're going to do that right now at the beginning of this round. For round 4 here, just going to make sure that I'm not missing a stitch here. We're going to do single crochet, just securing that bobble, and an increase stitch. Single crochet, and make sure you're not missing this bobble stitch, increase, and we're going to repeat this combination of single crochet, increase 8 times, and your stitch count should be 24. There we go. And there is our little udder. So I'm going to take my stitch marker out. I'm going to place a slip stitch here. I'm going to cut a good long length of yarn. Again, like I said, I'd prefer to have too much. And there is our udder. All right, so once we have our udder made, we're going to grab our body here and we're going to sew it on. So for where we're going to sew this on, it really just is personal preference. You're obviously going to want it to be centered in between the head here and also between the legs on the belly here. Now you could put it around round 7. I think that's where I'm going to put it, of the body. So I'm going to count. So we had 13 rounds in our leg. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this is where our body starts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 7 is kind of where it naturally went. So I'm just going to place a stitch marker here, or a fabric pin. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 7 to 13-ish areas where I'm going to sew mine on. And I just want to make sure that it's centered with everything. Then I'm just going to grab my yarn tail and my needle here. And I'm going to sew this on. Now I'm just going to sew on about 3/4 of the udder, and then we're going to do a little stuffing. It really shouldn't need too much stuffing, but you just want a little bit just to keep it a little bit out from the body. All right, so now that we're about 3/4 of the way sewn on, I'm just going to grab a little bit of stuffing here. It does not need a lot, just a little bit to fill that void there. And then I'm just going to continue to sew on the udder, this last like 1/4 of the udder, and then it will be all done and we can move on. All right, and once we're all sewn on, I'm just going to once again make a little knot here. I keep wrapping around my leg. Here we go. And I'm just going to push that backwards towards the back here. I'm just going to trim that a little bit. You can see how much this yarn fell apart while I was sewing. And there is our udder all attached. And next we're going to move on to the arms. All right, next we are going to start working on our arms. So first we're going to just take our yarn here and we're going to make a magic ring. Now we're using the same yarn we used for the legs at the bottom for the first few rounds. So inside our magic ring, we're going to place 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Place our stitch marker. Into round 2, we're going to do an increase round. So that's going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around. Oopsies. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we should have 16 stitches at the end of round 2. Now moving on for round 3, we're going to do the combination single crochet 1 and an increase. And we're going to repeat that 8 times. Single crochet 1, increase, and your stitch count should be 24. So I will finish this round off camera and then I'll meet you back here for round 4. All right, moving on to round 4, we're going to do the combination single crochet 1 and a decrease. So front loop of 1 stitch, front loop of the next, yarn over, pull through those 2, yarn over, pull through. We're going to repeat that single crochet decrease 4 times. Now to end off this round, we're going to do single crochet 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, for round 5, we're going to do the combination single crochet 1 and a decrease. And we're going to repeat that 4 times as well. Single crochet 1 and a decrease. Then I'm just going to do 8 single crochets to finish this round. And I already did 1, so there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now for round 6, we are going to do the combination single crochet 2 and a decrease. And we're going to repeat this all the way around. If I can get my... So we're going to do this 4 times. 1, and you should have 12 stitches at the end of round 6. Now we're not going to finish off this last round here because we are going to change colors. So we're not going to finish off with the brown. What we're going to do is we're going to cut the brown yarn now. And I'm going to grab my beige, which is the color I used for the body. I'm going to yarn that over, pull through to finish off that last single crochet, and change my color all at the same time. And I'm just going to make a little knot there and put my tails inside there. Now the only thing I want to do too before we move on, excuse me here, we're just going to put some fiber fill in to the arm. I just find it's easier to do now versus a little bit later, at least to get into the toe area here. All right, so now with our new yarn attached, we are going to do the combination single crochet 1 and a decrease, and we're going to repeat this again a total of 4 times, and your final stitch count at the end of this round should be 8. Single crochet, there we go. Now moving on for rounds 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, so 8 rounds, we're going to do single crochet 8. So just 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 8 rounds. I will complete these rounds off camera and I'll meet you back here at the end. I would suggest putting some stuffing in every few rounds, but I always like to leave the last few rounds, like maybe rounds 14 and 15 or 13, 14, and 15 empty, so that you don't have huge shoulders in your stuffy, because that's where we're going to sew it on. So finish rounds 8 through 15 and I will meet you back here at the end. All right, so I have finished up to round 15. I'm going to remove my stitch marker because that is our last round. And I'm just going to place a slip stitch over, and I'm going to cut my yarn and just pull that through like usual. Now again, I only stuffed, like I didn't stuff these 2 rounds here. I just stuffed up to here. And that's just for ease of sewing. I personally like the look of that better, but you do whatever works for you. Now we're going to need to make 1 more of these. So go back, make 1 more, and then we will meet back here to sew this on the body. All right, so I have made both of my arms now. Now we are going to sew this on. I'm just going to bring you out ever so slightly. And I'm going to grab my body here. Now we have to remember that there is a front to these. So where you see this little out piece, that is going to be the front. So that's what we want facing forward. That's kind of like the hoof of the cow. So what I like to do is grab our knitting needle again. Now with these guys, you can just use regular fabric pins if you prefer that. This is just another little trick for you. So we are basically going to be attaching these arms with the hoof forward, about 1 to 2 rounds below where we sewed on our head. And we want it kind of to be in line with like your ear and horn situation. So kind of like that. So this is kind of hard to film and do, but I'm just going to show you. Sorry if I hit my thing there, but I'm just going to stick this through. And then I'm going to stick it on the other side like this. There we go. And that's kind of where we want our arms to be placed. Now I'm just taking my darning needle here and my yarn tail. Now I am going to take this out just for ease of showing you guys sewing, because I can't sew it on while that knitting needle is in place, but just wanted to show you what I usually do. Now I'm just going to make sure this is where I want this. And then once I'm happy with it, I'm just going to sew on, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going through both sides of my arm of that last row there. There we go. Now, if you like your arms flying around, that's totally fine. You can just leave this as is. If you're like me and you prefer to have them a little bit more secured down, I'm just going to go back into where I was last. I'm going to push my needle down about, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish rounds, however low you want. Then I'm going to just like pull my arm down a little bit, because you don't want it to be bunched up like this. I want to like pull it down. And then wherever that lines up on the body with the arm, I'm going to just put it through the arm like this. Pull that through, and then I'm going to go back into the body in the same area that I did. And then I'm going to push this back to the back. And I'm going to meet it up with one of my other yarn tails so I can sew everything together. So now my arm kind of is a little bit more secure. It still will flop around, but not as much. And I'm just going to tie this off to, I think this was the ear yarn tail perhaps, I don't know. But I'm just going to tie that off. Cut my yarn. And I'm going to weave that in. And then for the other arm, I will meet it at the pink yarn tail and do the same thing. There we go. So there is one arm attached. Now I'm going to go ahead and attach the other arm off camera, and then I will meet you back here for the next step. All right, so now that my arms and my legs are all done, The last thing I want to do is just add a little bit of detailing to the arms and the legs. So I'm just going to grab, I know I forgot to tell you guys about this yarn, but just going to grab some brown yarn. It doesn't have to be the exact same shade as what you're using, but all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to place this on my darning needle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my needle kind of on the side, and I'm going to push it towards the very center of my round one of my foot. Next, I'm going to go over to kind of the center of my hoof here, and I'm going to push that back through to where I first inserted my needle here, like this. And I'm going to kind of guide this strand of yarn because I want it to be centered. And then all I'm going to do is just pull, and it's going to kind of make it more look like a hoof. Now, once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to tie a knot like that. And then I will cut my tail and weave in my ends. So I'm going to repeat this for both legs and both arms, and then I will meet back here for the next step. That completes part 2 of our Calli the Cow crochet along. Head over to part 3 to finish up the tail and the spots.